how are brands and how have brands failed purpose?
Okay, well, first, I'd like to level set
Let's go.
because often when people use the term brand purpose or talk about purpose, they're talking about social impact.
Mm-hmm.
But purpose is not about social impact. It encompasses a social impact when most effective,
Mm-hmm.
but brand purpose and purpose overall, if you go back to the big why,
Mm-hmm.
is why you exist at the highest level. And the best brands have a purpose that encompasses a deep human truth, something that you emotionally connect to, that typically naturally lends itself to some element of a social and or environmental mission. And I think that's actually a nice little setup to answer your question because it's not the, and I'll say brands, and actually brand is the human face of the business,
Right.
and behind a brand are human beings, brand leaders. So it's not brands themselves that have failed, nor is it brand leaders that have failed purpose. I think what the issue is they've misunderstood it. And they've latched on to this platform you have as a marketer. It's like, wow, I have this great opportunity to help advance progress and do good in the world. And we're at a time where there's a lot of issues ruffling around, and what's good to one person is bad to another, and there's a lot of dynamics in that. So marketers have taken this platform they have to do good as they define it,
Mm-hmm.
and not always necessarily be a steward for a brand and a steward for purpose. And so they've latched onto this trend of social cause, environmental mission, activism, and things like that. And so they've misunderstood the role of purpose.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a failure. I think it's a moment where we're reckoning with how we've approached this and reflecting and looking to grow up, to say, what does purpose mean? And how do we make this coherent in brand development and across the organization? Because to people, and we like to think of them as consumers, as employees, as investors, as stakeholders, but often one person covers multiple
Of
spectrums.
course.
And so people assess a business from all different perspectives, meaning they assess a brand from all different perspectives. And unless they're all in coherence, they sense something's wrong. And that's where you could say purpose has failed. But again, it's not failure, really. It's growing up, understanding better, experimenting, and seeing it from that lens of coherence across everything.
I really love that. I think this is the first time I've really heard it laid out in that way that a brand purpose, because you're so right. I think brands have taken purpose and even authenticity as shorthand for
Yeah.
heartwarming. Like anything we can do to make you smile or anything we can show that we're doing good out in the world, that's purpose. And no, it is who you are in your at your simplest essence, like
Mm-hmm.
what you are meant to do. And I feel like growing up is a great way for that because on a personal level, you hear just be yourself. Your whole life you hear just be yourself. And for me at least in my 20s and 30s that meant not pretending to be somebody else. But as I've grown older, I've kind of realized it's like, no, figure out who you really are
Yeah,
and be that person as unapologetically as possible. And I think that there's some parallel there here.
absolutely. And I like to think of purpose both in terms of brands as well as people as unfolding.